if we were to define focus as the quality and quantity of things that we say no to, right? Because the most focused person would do nothing but one thing. And so anything that's not that thing would make you less focused. So if that's the definition of what focus is. But I've thought about it like, it's almost like wine, where like as it ages, there's more nuance and there's more depth to the flavor. And I feel like as my entrepreneurial journey has like progressed, my understanding of what focus means has changed. Because it's actually like focus from the top. It's literally from the top all the way down. Meaning the company needs to focus on one thing, not 5. And if we have 5 objectives for the year, it's because me personally, I haven't done my job, because one of those things is the most important. And if I can't tell my team this is the most important, then how am I going to expect them to make that judgment without the context that I have? I'm a big believer in deleting as much as possible, because you only have fixed bandwidth. And if strategy is limited resources against unlimited opportunities, and so your prioritization of that limited amount of stuff against the things you can do, like that is strategy. If strategy is prioritization of the resources, then having focus is part of strategy. Leverage is getting more for what you put in. And so the people who move fastest in life don't do more than other people. They get more for each rep. And I think there's this big fallacy of concurrent tasks. Like a lot of people, it's been super well studied that, if you switch between tasks, you're way less effective. You're like 75% less effective when you switch between 2 things, let alone like 5, and your phone, and your kids, and your whatever, right? And so I think there's this big fallacy that I've changed in terms of how I operate, which is that we actually do things in sequence. We do things in an order. Meaning, although you might have 5 people on your team, we need to deploy all resources towards solving this one problem. And then once that problem is solved, what happens is the fact that the other 4 fires exist, because let's be real, there's always going to be problems. But the fact that the other 4 fires exist gives you urgency to solving the first one. And so you actually get 5 things done faster when you do them in order than trying to do all 5 at once. And yet for some reason, we don't regularly remind ourselves of that. Most of the reason that we're afraid to fail is because we're afraid of dying in an abstract reality. We think, oh, we catastrophize. Okay, I'll lose my job, and then no one will like me, and then I won't be able to get a job again, and then I'll be homeless, and then I'll die. You have to look at, and I like people starting out with service-based businesses, because when you ask the question, does somebody need to have money? No, you usually have time. If you don't have, you use the first rule of entrepreneurship is you use what you have. The first rule of money is spend less than you make. First rule of money. Like, you don't need to listen to anything else. You don't need to do any investing. You don't need nothing else. The first rule of money is spend less than you make. The second rule of money is take what's left over and invest it in making more money. And I think the big piece, especially people who are starting out, miss out, is that they expect that they're going to get rich as rich people get richer. And it's a different strategy. When you're starting out, you have to think about how you're going to make money while you're awake, not while you're asleep. The only reason that people who are really rich think about how to make money while they're asleep is because they've already maxed out their waking hours and they can't put more time into investments. And so they have to, by consequence, pick passive things to make money. But they already maxed out their active. Currently, you haven't maxed out your active. And the returns on active are significantly higher and lower risk than passive income opportunities. This is the leverage, right? How do you get more for what you put in? And the biggest and best investment that you can make is in your own skill set, because skills are the ultimate hedge against inflation. People are like, what's going to happen to the dollar? Doctors are going to get paid in seashells or Bitcoin or US dollars. It doesn't matter. If you have value to exchange, the world will exchange for it. So my favorite ism that I like is, don't invest in the S&P 500. It's invest in the S&Me 500, because you will get so much more on active income by investing the small amount you have into increasing your earning capacity than you ever will. Like, just think about the dollars here. So let's say that you had $1,000, all right, saved up. If you invest in Apple, whatever, or you invest, like, you'll have a 20% gain this year, a 30% gain this year. Okay, great. So now you have $1,300. But $1,000 can teach you a new lesson or a new skill that can take your earning capacity. Because if you only have $1,000 saved up, you either make very little money, or you're not following the first rule, which is you got to spend way less than you make, right? And so if you're on the I don't make a lot of money part, by the way, you can still definitely save more. But if you're on the I don't make a lot of money part, then doubling your earning capacity would, by the end of the year, you might have $30,000 saved up rather than one, or 1,300 in the alternative scenario. It's not even close. It's an order of magnitude. It's not even close. If you get rich quick, you get poor even faster. We wish for money, but not the skill to wield it, because money is just a potential for exchange. And so if you don't know how to make it, then everything you have is just a nut that's going to go down, because you also don't know how to multiply it if you got lucky. Because anybody who wants to get rich quick only is relying on luck. You're relying on chance. You're gambling. You're not investing. Protect your reputation with your life. You are living through consequences of actions you took last year, 5 years ago. And so you have to be able to split it without getting the reward for it. And that's the hard part. You have to be willing to trade the things you love right now for the things you want. And you may not like the price of what you want, but you can't change the price. And so there's all this groveling that goes back and forth for younger men of like basically wishing it didn't cost this much time or cost this much failure or cost this much risk in order to get to where they want to go. And so they basically stomp their heels and then, retreat inwards into their basement and video games and whatever else, rather than confronting their own inadequacy. Because the first thing you have to do is say, it's my fault. Everything that I have in my life is my fault. But if it's your fault, it's also under your control to change, because you cannot change what you do not control. And so to me, it's taking full accountability. If you want to change your behavior, change your conditions. And so one of the most powerful things that you can do is change who you surround yourself with and where you live. Delete everything that is not getting you closer to your goals. And so if you were that young man, you have to recognize the trade-offs that you have to be willing to make. You have to change your environment so you can change your behavior. And you have to delete everything that's not the thing that you want most. And if you can't decide what you want most, then that's what you need to do first. But once you know what you want, then go get it. Billionaires see the world more clearly than everyone else because they've been able to predict what's going to happen better. And so my only goal is to be able to see more clearly how reality works. And I posit, or my hypothesis, is that the more clearly I understand how things work, the better I will be able to execute within that realm. I think that most people have deathbed regrets because it's easy to make them on your deathbed. And so basically, we wish we could have lived 6 lives. And so the concept of regret basically is like, I wish I could have had my cake and eaten it too, right? I wish I could have lived the life as a musician and as the perfect husband and as the best businessman and as a professional health, whatever. And I think it skews the idea of trade-offs, which is what life is more realistically about, which is that you make trades given the information you had. And for me to wish for a different outcome would mean that I would wish for a different decision-making algorithm, which would then massively change my life in general. Because saying, oh, I wish I had spent more time with my, wife or whatever, if that meant it would have, people say, I wish I would have done this, but they don't accept the cost of that. Would you actually? Because the thing is that if you play all that all the way to the other side, they might say, oh, I wish I would have done this. I see this as fundamentally, we want to have everything and we can't. And for me, and that's okay.
Yeah, never give up.